Good evening, everybody. I hope you're doing well, whether you're hanging out with us live or you're watching this recording later. My name is Corey McNeil, and I am your educational program consultant for Canvas at North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. So I have the honor and privilege of working with you all throughout the state and supporting Canvas as our learning management system. If you're not familiar with WebEx, for those of you that are watching, hanging out with us live, all of your controls should be on that toolbar across the bottom, including closed caption if you need that. Also, this is supposed to be live and interactive, so you can feel free to utilize the chat, the Q&A feature, which will come to me directly, or you can just simply unmute yourself and just have a conversation with us. We want it to be what you need for you this evening. That's pretty much all I have as an introduction, other than handing it over to Lorianne, who is an amazing Instructure employee and hangs out with us. And I am so grateful for her doing these sessions with us. And we're going to talk some tonight about accessibility features.
Thanks, Corey. I appreciate it. Kind words. I'll take them every day of the week. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So you guys should see the Instructure ensuring accessibility through Canvas, right? We're good on that? Yes? Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. So first of all, thanks for being here. Super appreciative of everyone spending time with me at 7 o'clock on a Thursday evening. I'm glad to be here. Just a little bit about myself. I am a learning associate with Canvas in my current role. I am a lifelong educator. I've been in education 29 years. I have a master's in instructional technology, which enables me to be able to share my knowledge and continually learn things, throughout my work as a Canvas Learning Associate. I have experience as a project manager, a district administrator, an instructional designer, and most importantly, dear to my heart, an elementary teacher. I spent the majority of my youth in elementary classrooms, and my heart's still there. I'm an avid reader. I'm learning to hike, and I'm a dog mom, and I have the 3 of them here. I hope there's not a cat outside, or the wind blows too hard. Will be good. If so, I might have to mute for a second, but so far everyone is behaving. Again, truly excited to be here. I also use Canvas, with a local district here in Florida, and I've been using it for a while. If you're brand new to Canvas, I feel your pain. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna get so much better. The more that you use it, the more that you practice, the more that you learn, the better that you get, and you realize how amazing Canvas is in order to help you teach in face-to-face, blended, or even a fully virtual classroom. You can use it for all of those things. So tonight, as Corey said, what we're going to do is we're going to focus the presentation on accessibility. And accessibility in this presentation is really about helping you to create a quality Canvas course that offers accessibility for all learners. So let's just talk about accessibility for just a moment. Accessibility is really part of UDL, or Universal Design for Learning. I'm sure that you've heard that phrase before, that title. It's really about making things accessible to all people all of the time. We see examples of accessibility, and we've grown up around examples of accessibility in society every day, right? You go to the bank and you see the wheelchair ramp that's accessible for wheelchairs to get into the bank at the entrance of a building. You close captioning, Corey mentioned that at the beginning of this presentation. Here's how you can find your closed captioning. Closed captioning is just a part of everyday life. I know that recently I took a trip to South Carolina, and I was on a plane, and I had downloaded my Netflix movie, right? And just where I was sitting on the plane, it was really loud. And even though I had my earphones in, I couldn't understand what the characters were saying. So what did I do? I turned on the closed captioning, and I was able to maintain my interest and get through the flight without thinking about how long I'd been sitting on the plane. So that was, just an example of someone who currently has full sense of hearing. It was able to help me to be able to learn or pay attention or comprehend what was going on in the movie. So, closed captioning is another example. Another example is like the beep of a crosswalk indicating when it's safe to cross the street. I happen to live in the Fort Lauderdale, Florida area, and it's very much a metropolitan. So I hear that on the daily as I'm walking, at work to go across the street to get a cup of coffee. I don't even think about it, but you hear the beep, like don't go across the street, realizing that someone who maybe has visual impairments, that's a matter of life and death, right? So we all know about accessibility in our everyday physical life, but there also are accessibility considerations when we're building course content in Canvas. The goal of our considerations is to ensure, just like in our physical classroom, that all of our learners have the ability to navigate, interact, and contribute in the learning environment. And I'm really here today to share some accessibility considerations. And then I want to also share with you some really great features that are built into Canvas naturally that can help you ensure that you're meeting the accessibility, right? So let's talk a little bit about accessibility. I don't know about you. I'm certainly not an accessibility expert whatsoever, right? I know that when I use certain colors on a page, I need to make sure that the contrast between the background and the page itself is easy to read. I know that, it's a good idea to have maybe a 14 font text in my Canvas course just because it's easy to read. Those kind of things are just I think come naturally to us as teachers. But there are a lot of different accessibility guidelines that are out there that we as instructors, just like these business owners, we really have, not only a moral, but really a legal responsibility to make sure that we are doing what we can to make sure that it's accessible for our learners, right? So it can be a lot of information. It can be overwhelming. This document here, which I'm going to put in the chat in a couple of minutes, this is a guideline page that I'll invite you to take a deeper dive into, that you can look and see what the WCAG has outlined for web content accessibility. They are the true experts. We are just here to make sure that we follow these guidelines as easily as possible. When you're thinking about accessibility in your Canvas course, it's a good idea to use the acronym of POUR, right? So we have perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. If I can follow that acronym of POUR and ask myself a question as I'm building my content in Canvas, then for the most part, I'm going to be able to hit that accessibility when I also use the tools that are embedded into Canvas naturally that I'm going to walk you through in a couple of minutes. So perceivable, what does that mean? And I know you can see examples on the screen, text alternatives, captions, presentation methods, right? But from the WCAG, perceivable means that the information must be presentable to users in a way that they can perceive it. In other words, simple terms, it cannot be invisible to all of their senses. So for example, if I put something on the page like we have here, that's perceivable to someone who does not have a visual impairment. It's easy to see, right? But I also have a responsibility as I'm building things within my presentation to keep in mind the learner who may have visual impairments. And what I can do is I can put keywords, I can make things available so that I know a screen reader will be able to interpret the information easily, right? Those are the kind of accommodations that we're thinking about when we talk about something being perceivable. The O in POUR is operable. So the interface components and the navigation must be operable for all users. And in interoperability, really, we're thinking about how is my course easily navigated, right? And if you were able to come to last month's webinar, we talked about best practices for organizing your course. And we talked about, creating a homepage that's inviting. We talked about going into the navigation for the course settings and getting rid of the extraneous links that we don't need, right? Having these links available for students so they can go to modules, they can go to grades, the homepage, announcements, and keeping it super simple on the navigation. As you're doing these things that we're talking about with best practices, what you're doing is you're increasing the operability for your students, regardless of any disabilities or challenges that he or she may have. And then we have the U in POUR, which is understandable. And the definition behind understandable is that individuals must be able to understand the information as well as the operation of the user interface. So, understandable within a Canvas course, does the course have a logical flow? Does the font size and the color make sense? Are there clear directions on the page if I'm just giving you forward facing information? Is it on a page rather than an assignment? Because an assignment tells the student, I need to give the teacher back some information. So if I just want you to maybe watch a video to build some background knowledge, or read, a page, or check out some links like we have here, then I'm going to put that information on a page rather than an assignment, because I don't want the student to be confused about what the expectation is, right? And then last time we also talked about, or maybe 2 webinars ago, we talked about setting up the requirements in a module, right? Where I can require the student to go through a module in a certain order, and I can require them to turn something in and get maybe a minimum grade or just to submit something, right? So these are all the things that we can do that can help with our items, our courses being perceivable, operable, and understandable. And then the last part of 4 is robust. And really, it's pretty simple, but it makes a lot of sense when I read the definition, because the definition, according to WCAG, is the content must be robust enough that it can be easily interpreted by assistive technologies. That's a big deal, right? Because especially when I first started building course content in Canvas, I was excited to make it pretty. I wanted to have my Bitmoji in there. I wanted to have lots of flash. I don't want to say it right now, but I'm guilty of having the what is it the gifts, right, that had the flash, and can't do that because that really doesn't help with someone who has a screen reader. A screen reader is not going to know that the words that are flashing on the page, what they say, right? So I have a responsibility as a teacher and as a course designer to make sure that I'm following the WCAG guidelines as much as possible. Now, let's take a second. That's a lot of information. When I click on that document, it brings up this page that has just pages and pages and pages of information. That's a lot of information. As I said before, I'm certainly not an expert in this. I'm going to do my best to do the right thing, but I need some help, right? So this is really when we kind of transition in our webinar into what kind of features does Canvas have built in for you that is going to be a game changer. It's really going to help you in regard to making sure that you're doing your due diligence to build a course that matches the poor applicant, right? So one thing I want to show you, because this is pretty cool. I actually learned this just this week. Colorzilla is it's an add-in. Come on. It's an add-in in Firefox or in Chrome. I happen to be using Chrome right now. You can install it. What it does is it allows you to do a couple of things, because sometimes, well, no, all the time when I'm building my course content, I want it to look nice, right? So let's say that I want to grab a color picker. I can figure out which color it is. And what's happening here is it's giving me the hex code. So if you're familiar with the back end of any web page, hex code is just basically how the computer understands, what color to use, right? So you can use that. Color picker is not even my best. What I really like is I like the page color. So here's what I did. I clicked on the add-in right here, and I can click on any color on this page, and look what happens. Notice that the RGB changes, the hex code changes. If I want to find out what this color is exactly, this add-in here, Colorzilla, helps me to do that. So sometimes maybe I have a picture and I want to kind of match maybe the text of what I have to the picture, just to make it look, nice and uniform. I can just go and grab the information here. I can copy it to my clipboard, and then I can use that for my color. That to me, that's a kind of just a cool little thing, right? I have a palette browser here that I can play around with. Be careful because sometimes we can go all the way over to the other side and it becomes very busy because we have so many colors. But it's nice to know that that's there if you're trying to find a specific color, right? Colors from an image is pretty cool as well. This link, and I'll give you this links in the chat before the end here. If I have an image, I can upload my file here, and then I can actually click on the image and I can find the exact color that's in the image, which again will help with continuity, visually appealing as you're building your course. These aren't really aligned to the WCAG. They will help you a little bit once you integrate it into Canvas, but you know, sometimes we just got to make it look pretty too. So I wanted to share that with you. I'll put those in the chat for you. The most important thing about POUR, the most important thing is that if any of the part of that acronym are not true, if it is not perceivable, if it is not operable, if it is not understandable, and if it is not robust enough for assistive technologies to support, then a user with disabilities is not going to be able to interact with your course. And that's pretty significant, right? So that being said, you may feel this heavy weight upon you. Back here a second. May feel a heavy weight upon you is, well, okay, Lorianne, this is all great information, but it's a lot, right? Like I'm backing up. I don't know. The great part is we have documents in place. We have built-ins established in Canvas that can help you get started with accessibility in Canvas. So you know that if you are using the features that I'm getting ready to show you, you are already way ahead of doing your part to make sure that your course content is accessible. So first thing is, I know you've seen this before. We talked about it in the last webinar for course design. This is the course evaluation checklist. This is truly probably the best thing that has ever come out of Instructure. I am not kidding you, because this course evaluation checklist, it really breaks down for me, the teacher, the user, the course designer, it breaks down where do I get started? Where do I start? So the course evaluation checklist and actually the mobile design checklist, both of them, right? Because as I'm building my course content, I have to think about, are my students looking at it on their phone, on a tablet, or on a computer? I want to make sure that everything is as accessible as possible. Both of these checklists here really bring you through detailed information about using the information on the checklist, starting with the essential, right? Start with the beginning, and then moving into best practice and exemplary. And if you notice on the screen, you'll see the UDL principles that are embedded in here, especially in the essential part of the checklist. I actually have this checklist printed out. I laminated it, I stuck it on my desk, and as I'm building things, I'm constantly looking at that checklist to see, okay, what did I not do in regard to accessibility? I want to make sure that I'm doing my best to meet those accessibility guidelines. The majority of the foundational, as I said, or the single starred items on the checklist are aligned to UDL. They're there to help you as the teacher have the same integrity in your teaching that you do in the face-to-face as you do in Canvas. If you're not familiar with the course evaluation checklist, I urge you to tomorrow click to the link that you're going to get at the end of this presentation and print it out and just take a look at it. And again, you know, what is the phrase, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? So this is your elephant, right? Don't go too exemplary. Don't start there. We're going to go one bite at a time. My suggestion is first bite, the single star. If you are using this checklist and you are aligning your course content to the single star or foundational items, you have the POUR taken care of. You are meeting the accessibility guidelines for students with any sort of exceptionality. Okay, so.
And I will also say another thing that I really like about that checklist from both a a former classroom teacher's perspective as well as a district leader is that there is direct alignment there with the digital learning competencies for you all as educators, as well as the your evaluation checklist. So I mean, you can literally use that rubric as evidences when you're talking about how you're meeting the DLCs, and evidences when you're supporting evaluations with your principal or your administrator, whoever that may be.
Ah, that's great. Thank you, Corey, for that information. That I always forget that piece, right? And that's important. So thank you for that documentation piece for sure. Okay, so we know what accessibility is. We know that it's important. We know that there are certain guidelines that we need to meet, and we know that we need to document this to make sure that we're fulfilling our job responsibilities. Now comes the fun part because Canvas has these built-in products to support you as you are building course content. So the first thing I want to talk about tonight is the accessibility checker. This little guy that you see right here, I'm going to show you this in Canvas in a couple of minutes. So this accessibility tool checks common accessibility errors within the rich content within the rich content editor. You see the RCE, or the rich content editor, when you are on an edit in a page, in a discussion, in an assignment, in a quiz, right? So when you're in that edit mode, so students can't see it yet, you're going to see this little guy down at the bottom. You may not even have noticed him before, but you're going to notice him after tonight, and you're going to realize he's there to help you, okay? So the purpose of this tool is to help you design course content while considering accessibility attributes. And again, you're going to find it in the rich content editor. So we're going to go through that in just a minute live, and I'm going to take questions and we're going to talk about it. I'm going to show you how it works because I created a page that has a few errors on purpose because I wanted to show you what that accessibility checker does. So that's the first thing. That's the first tool that you can use right now to make sure that you're meeting accessibility guidelines. So the next tool is, oh, I'm sorry, let's go under what it looks at, right? So the accessibility checker, it checks all of these things here that you see on the page. Heading and paragraphs. The headings shouldn't contain more than 120 characters. So if you have a heading in a paragraph and it has, you know, a lot of characters, that little accessibility guy's gonna be like, excuse me, too many characters. You need to fix that, and it's going to show you how to do that. If you add an image to your Canvas page and you just like you downloaded it or you took it from your camera and it's image number 125, right? And you add it into Canvas and you just press save and you don't give it like an alt text so that a screen reader would know this is a picture of, then that accessibility guys would be like, excuse me, there's no alt text there, so your students with visual impairments are not going to be able to see, right? So it helps you with another common error is when we have charts or tables on a Canvas page. You get a lot of accessibility issues with that because the checker is thinking about screen readers, right, for the students with visual impairments. So these are the kind of things that are just automatically checked by the accessibility checker. So when you are in the RCE, or the rich content editor, or you've clicked edit on your page, you'll see this little guy right here. He's going to be at the bottom of the RCE. And if you do not see any alerts, you're good. Everything is meeting the common accessibility guidelines. And you can click on it and you'll say, nope, no accessibility here, no accessibility issues, good job. If you have any numbers here, you'll have these little alerts. You click on it and the accessibility checker will actually walk you through what the problem is. It's pretty amazing. And just recently, that was an update with the number alert. It didn't used to have that number alert. You had to remember as a teacher to go down and do that. And, you know, sometimes I can't even remember where my keys are. So I can't tell you how many times I probably haven't checked the accessibility guy. So we're going to go through that as well. The next thing that we're going to go on, there we go. The next thing we're going to talk about is a link validator, and this is also built into Canvas. So each Canvas course comes with a built-in link validator. So this is useful when you're transitioning from one semester to another, or one school year to another, right? I've spent the entire semester creating this amazing content. I've made sure that it's accessible. I've done my due diligence. I transfer it from one course to the other, and I know that I have links that link out into, other domains, right? There's a link validator that's located under settings. Let me get to that part. It's located under settings in your course right here. And what you can do is at the beginning of your semester, before you publish that course for students, just go to the link validator, click it. It will run through and it'll make sure that every link in your course is still active. If by chance there's an issue after you run it, if there's an issue, just like you see on the page here, it will tell you which page in Canvas, whatever the name of it is, it'll tell you what the external link is, the issue is, and it'll have you go out and find it. This is a game changer when I'm at like year 2, 3, 4 of my Canvas work, and I've been teaching the same grade level or the same content area, right? I'm getting really good at this Canvas business. This is a game changer because I can just simply start the link validator. I can go get a cup of coffee. I can come back and it will tell me if all my links are good. And if they're not, at that point, what do? I go in and I go find the links and I relink them, out to the outside courses, the outside sources. I also have something that's built in. I have a course right now that I run on, I think it's a monthly basis. And this course has a link that goes to another Canvas course that we have open at the institution level. And I get an email at least once a week from Canvas saying, you've got a problem with this link. And I couldn't figure out what it was. I kept going in and checking that link. And I went to our Canvas admin and she said, no, the problem is Canvas is telling you, Lorianne, it's not good practice to link from one course to another because your students may have access to the first course, but not to the second one. She's like, you can ignore that email because of the way you're using it for teachers. We know that link, that is okay. I really appreciate Canvas taking care of me like that, right? Because if that other link went bad or that course wasn't at the institution level, then my students wouldn't be able to see what they need to see. So that's another built-in feature of Canvas, which is super helpful. The next one is for your ELL students, or even, well, I guess a visually impaired student most likely would have a screen reader, but if you have a student who maybe has some difficulty reading the page on their own, comprehending, right, whatever the problem may be, there is something called Immersive Reader. It's a Microsoft application. You may be familiar with it. This recently came into view, I'd say within the last few years. And on every page, there is the ability to turn on Immersive Reader. And the great thing about that is, and I'll model that for you, you can actually click as the student, you can click on the Immersive Reader button and it will come up and it will read the page to you. So maybe if you have a student, an ELL student, right, speaking another language as a native language, if he or she needs support with the content on the page, they can use Immersive Reader, which is a free tool. It's a free tool within Canvas, and it helps to, as you can see on the screen here, improve reading comprehension, increase fluency of the English language learner, build confidence for emerging readers, all of those things. Now, most importantly, this does need to be turned on at the account level. So your Canvas admin, whether it's district, school, or state, I'm not sure how you're organized, but whoever governs your tenant of Canvas, they would need to turn this on at the admin level. I can go through that today to show you in my little practice tenant. Once it's turned on, it just automatically populates on the page.
Yeah, so in North Carolina, that's going to be someone within your PSU. So if you're a charter school, it's probably someone in your building, unless you have multiple sites, or if you're at a public school district, it's going to be someone at your central office level.
Thank you, Corey. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much. So here's an example of what Immersive Reader looks like on the page. So you can see that the text comes up. You have when they click play, the text will actually be read by the computer. It kind of chunks it out for the reader, and it splits it up into syllables. It highlights verbs and nouns and adjectives, that kind of thing. It really is a huge support for a student who maybe needs a little more accommodation in regard to reading text on the page. So that's a really great tool. All right, I'm looking at my time because I promised myself I would not go over. I want to jump into live, and I'd like to also take some questions. I do have, and you'll have access to this slide deck. We have some best practices, but I feel like, in my opinion, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like a live demo of what we've talked about might be useful at this point. And then any questions that you guys have, Corey is kind enough to run the chat for me. If we're good with that, I'll go ahead and jump into a live. Are we good with that one? Everyone agree? Let's see, come on. There we go. All right, so let me pull over my demo course. Okay, so this course may look familiar to you from last time, and I'm going to give you a link to this course as well. Last time we talked about course design standards, just remembering that we talked about, the importance of having good quality information on your homepage, that kind of thing. You may remember this interactive that we had. We also talked about, let me make this a little bit smaller, it is gigantic. We also talked about the course evaluation checklist. When I give you the link here to this course, you're going to have access to the checklist. But let me just give you this course right now. That just makes sense. That way, we can take a look at as we're going to see this. Anybody else ever have this happen to you where you get caught and it doesn't want to give you a copy of your stuff? Sharing your stuff.
Yes, and it's also fun in WebEx because when you start sharing your screen, everything just moves around. So I understand.
Crazy. Okay, good. I don't feel, I'm always like, can I just do it right? Let me go into here. I'm just going to grab it here real quick, and I will pop it into the chat. Let's see if I can chat here, Corey. I remember I had trouble finding the chat before.
Should be in that bar across the top
Yeah.
when you're sharing your screen.
For sure. All right. Progress
Beautiful.
with WebEx. Excellent. Okay, so in the chat, I've given you access to this course. I have it open at the public level because there's really not anything that's proprietary. And I thought maybe just connecting our previous learning to the learning we have now, just kind of building on that, right? So what we talked about last time was the course evaluation checklist. It's here for you. I definitely want to talk about that with you and maybe take some questions on it. We have the mobile evaluation checklist here as well. We talked about announcements last time, but here's what I want to focus on, right? We talked about the accessibility checker because we're thinking about building our course, making sure that we're accommodating for the poor acronym. So I created a course that really has a few accessibility errors, right? And I did that on purpose because I wanted to share with you what it looks like when I go into edit mode. Right now, here I am in student mode. It looks fine, right? It's in the published mode. Notice that I have the introduction here. It's in orange. It kind of matches the picture, right? It looks good. So let me go into edit. When I go into edit, I want you to notice what's going on here. He gave me error messages yesterday. I was playing around with it. Here's the little accessibility guy. Oh, there we go. Okay, I must have had to populate him again. So notice, let's rewind a second so you can see it happen. I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to take a look at the accessibility guide down at the bottom. For some reason, now my instance is a little weird because it's not a true student instance. For some reason, it's not populating the number there, but when I click on it, you will see that I have 6 errors, right? So when I click on it, it's giving me issue 1 through 6, and it's telling me, okay, here's your first issue. The text larger than 18 points, and it's highlighting it here for me, should display a minimum contrast ratio of 3 to 1. What does that mean? I don't know, but this accessibility checker does, right? He's going to help me out. So what he's basically telling me is this light color in this large of text is really not going to be great for a student that has visual impairments, right? So I can come down and I can just click anywhere on here to figure out which color I want. and then I can click apply, and then suddenly I have 5 errors, right? So when I put that back into publish mode, let's just look at that a second. When I put that back into publish mode, now you can see the difference. Personally for me, I don't happen to have any colored blindness, but I guarantee that I have students in my classes that would, right? So someone that has visual impairments or any sort of colorblind issues, that probably would not be an easy thing for them to read. So when I go back into edit mode, and I love how it just fixes it for me, and any color that I pick, it's going to tell me, okay, that error is finished, right? So now we have the accessibility checker here. You can see that it's highlighting the picture. So I did this on purpose. This picture I took from the built-in here. I'm going to show you that in Canvas. I took it and I had to actually download it to my computer and call it picture 1 to get it to be an issue, because Canvas is so smart. They don't let me choose anything from their built-in picture library, and they already give me the alt text. So remember, anybody with a screen reader, right? So this is a picture of houses, because on this page we're talking about thinking of your standards like you would a house, right? Every course has walls, every course has content, that kind of thing, just like every house has windows, regardless of a mansion, a small house, a big house, whatever. So I took this image because I just took one from my computer or from my camera that I took, and I added it to this page because I thought it was great and it went along with what I was talking. But look at the alt text here. The alt text says picture 1. If I have a student with visual impairments that cannot see that picture, he or she would not know that that's a picture of houses. So Canvas is telling me this is not good alt text for the screen reader. You need to change that. So houses in a neighborhood or something. I'm not sure if that's really a great description, or I could say houses of different sizes, right? So that would be my alt text, or I could say it's just a decorative image. I like to use alt text because I like to make sure that anyone with any visual impairment is going to be able to understand what that picture is. So I click apply. When I click apply, now my little image is going down to 4. Okay, you fixed that one. Here we are on course design recommendations. I take a look. Oh, there's that color again, right? That's the issue. So I can come down here and I can apply, I can fix it. Click apply. Now I have 3 errors. Here we go. Tables always give us errors because remember, a screen reader doesn't recognize that it's a table right off the bat. So tables should include a caption describing the contents of a table. So the caption for this one would be, this table introduces, this probably is the better way, lists best practices course design. Now, if I have a student with a screen reader, they're able, the screen reader will tell the student this is the table that has these things in it, right? So now I'm down to 2 errors. So I go, let's see, I go back to here. Oh, set table header, I didn't have a header. So I need to have a header. And this header, what I would do is I would grab the course, this should be course design recommendations. So because it is a table, what they're telling me is that a table needs a header, again, to accommodate the screen reader, right? So what I would have needed to do was to what I just erased when I typed over, I would need to add it underneath, but you get the idea, right? So I'm going to click apply. And then lastly, here's the color again that was out of sync, and I can click apply. Now, look, my accessibility checker is telling me that everything is good, and I can click save, and I can know with fidelity that if one of my students or one or more of my students has a screen reader, he or she is going to be able to access the content on the page. That is your accessibility checker. My opinion, best friend in Canvas, right? So again, in order to find the accessibility checker, you're going to be on any page, you click edit, and when you come down at the bottom here, You have this little guy. If for some reason the alerts didn't populate, just you always click on it and it'll let you know if you have any issues. So that is an easy way to make sure that you're getting started with accessibility in Canvas. The other thing that we talked about is link validator. So here I am in my settings, right? I go to validate links and content. When I actually checked it yesterday, but I just click restart. I can do other things. I can open other pages. I can actually even leave this page. It's going to run on its own, right? It's going to be fine. I can go do all the other things that I need to do. And then I can come back later and I can just click on the settings. And then when I come back, I can see if there were any issues with any external links in this course. Lastly, we talked about on our page, we talked about the Immersive Reader button, right? So you've noticed the Immersive Reader is at the top of this page here, and it will read the content of the page for a student that may need it. So they just click on Immersive Reader. It's nice because the student can do this. Once you enable this at the district level or at the course settings level, it's really nice because it's not anything you have to think about. Just let your students know, listen, if you ever need some support, this will actually read the page for you. I don't think the volume is going to work because I'm sharing the screen right now, but you can see here and what it's doing is it's reading the page to me. I can change the voice settings from male to female. I can make it go a little slower if perhaps I'm an ELL student who needs to really work comprehension, right? Understanding the spoken word, or I can make it go a little bit faster if that's my choice. And I can imagine the kids are always going to play with it, and let's see how funny it sounds. Funny it sounds at a very large speed, right? But the important thing is the student has ability to determine his or her, I guess, specifications with Immersive Reader inside of Canvas. So if you happen to be someone at the district office who is your Canvas admin, you can turn this on at the admin level. You'll see that I have a Canvas admin badge here, right? So I go into here, I go into the name of the actual account. And then what I do is I go into settings. And from settings, I go into feature options. And then Microsoft Immersive Reader is right here. By default, it's disabled. And it's just that little red X, right? So by default, it is disabled in a Canvas instance. So that person who owns the Canvas as the Canvas admin, they can just come in, you can click it, and it will be turned on. And when you turn it on at the account level, at the institution level, it's going to be turned on for every Canvas course within your institution. So then when I go back to my dashboard and I click on my course, you're going to see it inside of Pages. There it is, for students. All right, I'm going to stop. We have, I think, about 16 minutes. I want to stop and I want to have some conversations and take some questions and hopefully, you know, create some sort of better understanding of anything that we've presented tonight, or maybe anything that was presented previously, or any questions you have around Canvas. This is your opportunity to test my knowledge. Hope I pass. If I don't pass, I'll certainly find the answer for you in a Canvas guide and get that information for you. So I do have the chat up, but I would like to invite anyone to open their mic as well, if you'd like. And let's talk about, oh, Randy says, where were you yesterday when I was trying to figure this out? I solved somebody's problem. What were you trying to find out, Randy? Was it the Immersive Reader? It was. Okay, well, I'm glad. I'm so glad that I was able to. I just located it last night. I'm just telling you the truth. But I was glad that I was able to locate it because I have someone in my instance that that handles that for me. So I was like, I know I can find it. You figured it out eventually. Yeah, I got it. You know, if you're ever at the issue with that, Randy, and you're having trouble, go over to those Canvas guides, or open up a new page. Get out of the way. Open up a new page, and you can just Google Immersive Reader in Canvas, and the community is always open, and the community is amazing. It's like a hive mind, you know, like any problem that you have, people are out there, they're helping each other, and you know, you'll find what you need, and you'll usually there's a little video and it'll help you to figure out how to do it. So definitely spend the time, you know, just Google it, right? Google knows everything. I tried that. I was reading what it said, but not actually reading it well. God, well, that happens, right? We should have had an immersive reader so you could read the page about immersive reader. I hear you, brother. I have that problem as well. All right. So what do we need to talk about, my friends? What kinds of questions or concerns or clarification do you need?
Hello, my name is Devera, and this is just a basic question. When you put the alt text on the image, do you have to be in the student view to see? Because I didn't, when you were in the edit view, I didn't
Yeah,
see it listed.
because I didn't show it to you. So hang on. I'm sorry. That's a great question. Okay, so here's what we would normally do, right? I'm gonna take that image out and I'm gonna pretend like it is not there, and I'll show you two different ways to add it. Now, I like to work smarter, not harder, right? Because we're busy people. So what I like to do is is this large enough? Can you guys see it okay? So what I like to do is figure out on the page where I want my picture. Let's imagine I want my picture here. I like to go to the images. I click on Unsplash, because Unsplash is royalty-free pictures. They have an agreement with Canvas. And look what's happening. Unsplash is going to put the alt text there for you. So this is one way to do it, right? So if I Google or if I search for houses in Unsplash, here's the image that I took, right? So I click on it and I click submit. The alt text is already there for you. It puts it in, because when I did it yesterday, I kept trying to make it not have alt text and it wouldn't work because of that integration. So if you go into Unsplash, if you go into on the page here, you go into the picture, right? You click on Unsplash, you can search for anything under Unsplash, right? Let's say that you want to have a question, right? So maybe just a question. Whoops. Again, I have my cursor where I want to go to here, Unsplash, and let's say I want to put a question mark there, right? Question mark. So I just clicked enter. I can pick whichever question mark I want, and I can add it in the page. What it does automatically when I click submit, it's going to give it that alt text automatically. Now, the question was, can you see the alt text?
Yes.
You
So
can, right?
actually,
Yeah.
yeah. So that when you're on that image and it says image
Image
options
options.
right there,
Yep.
it's going to make that fly out window, and there you're going to see that exact same box when we were correcting it, where that alt text is, and your ability to check that decorative image if you change your mind.
Yes. So that one is done there, right? So that's perfect. Thank you so much, Corey, for hopping in on that. And if you're adding your own image, so I'm going to click here, that image that I misnamed, right? I'm going to upload an image from my computer. I need to go to pictures, and I'll just add this Canvas Studio image that I took today. So I'm going to add Canvas Studio here. Now, if you'll notice the attributes down bottom, this is where I would put my alt text, because this is an image that's not tied to Unsplash. So I have a responsibility of either saying that it's decorative. If I click decorative, the little checker guy is not going to notice it. He's going to, oh, that's just a decorative image. But again, it's a good idea, right? So Canvas Studio. I can embed it. I can display it as a link if I choose to as well. When I click add, it's right there for me. If I hover over it, I can go back into image options, and there's the call out. That's where you could change the size. Excuse me, if you decided to do that. Could do it also by small, medium, large, right? You can add your fix your alt text kind of thing, right? So you can always, no matter if it's you're just putting the image in now or you're adding it later on or you're coming back to edit it, you can always click or hover over the image to get into the, make it a little bit bigger. You hover over, if you click on the image, excuse me, click on the image and then go to image options, and you can see if everything is there for you. Does that help?
Yes. And then what about like the student? So if I'm a student, I have a visual impairment and I'm on this Canvas page, how would they see the alt text? Would they see it like in the student view and they hover over it?
Go into full student view. Never paid attention to it. I believe that this alt text would be recognized by a screen reader, right?
Okay,
So
gotcha.
if we had that assistive technology, sometimes though, I've seen it before in other LMSs that sometimes when you hover over it, that little alt text comes out. But I believe the way that this one runs, it's truly for the screen reader.
Okay.
Great question though. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Do you guys know about the link options as well? Have you dove into that dive? I'm not sure what the correct form of that verb would be. Let me show you this one. So if I go to the mobile evaluation checklist, what I've done is I've set this up so that this checklist is opening automatically in my page, right? Because I don't want my students to miss it. I want it to be right there, ready for them to see it. So let me go into edit for a second, and let's pretend I'm gonna take it out, the link, I'm gonna take it out, and I'm going to relink it. I want to show you two different ways to do it. So I'm ready to put my mobile design checklist. I've put my checklist in my Canvas files. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hover over this. I'm going to go to the link here. I can choose an external link to go somewhere else, or I can choose a course link. When I choose course link, I can go ahead and link it to a page, an assignment within the course, right, to help with navigation. But what I want to do right now is I want to actually put a file in. So I click on Files, and then from there, I have my personal Canvas files or my course files. What I do, you guys, because I happen to manage so many courses, I just put everything in a course file. That way I know that it's in that course. And then when I copy things over, I know that it's going to come over. That's a best practice I would highly recommend, especially if you're managing multiple courses. So I click on course file. This was my mobile design checklist. So here it is. I click on it, and you notice right here, it just automatically made a link, right? So if I go ahead and save my page, here's what I want you to see. It's here. There's a little download option, but my students have to click on it, right? It's not really like right there in their face. So what you want to do, what I like to do anyway, is I like to, when I'm in the edit mode and I've created that link, what I like to do is click on the link, click on link options, just like we had image options. And right over here, here's the text that, it's on the page, right? The title of it. This is linking to that specific file. I like to click preview inline and then expand by default. When I do that, that really just puts the document right out there for the student. They still have the ability to download the document, but it makes it so that in order to go to the bottom of the page, right, they have to actually go through my document. So that's a nice little tip that I always use. If I have a document, I always have it as an inline document. What else should we talk about?
Can I ask another question about the Immersive Reader?
Uh-huh.
So when I was looking around yesterday, under my account name to the far left, when I clicked on that and clicked on settings, there's the features list underneath my account. Do the
Yeah.
individual teachers have to go in and turn on Immersive Reader there?
No,
Because
no.
mine was not. Okay.
Because you are the Canvas admin for your entity, correct?
Sadly and scarily, yes.
Isn't it important?
Corey's laughing because Corey's been helping me a lot, so I'm learning.
Randy, you are doing just fine. Don't even.
Okay.
So,
I got
yeah.
a bunch of questions for you tomorrow. It's all good, Corey. All
So
good.
you're the king of the empire, right? So whatever you turn on in your settings, it's going to be available for all of the courses within your instance. So when you went in and did that with the feature options, that's when Immersive Reader will just automatically show on the pages of all the courses. And you can always check that, right? Because you're the admin, you turn it on. What you can do is just go to your dashboard, because any course that you have on your dashboard lives inside your instance, right? So when I go here, I should see modules. Yeah, I do see Immersive Reader. It was right up there. So yeah, that's the nice part about it, is you can turn that on and then teachers don't have to worry about it. It's just there automatically.
Thank you. I did go in as a teacher and I saw it on his account that he's a seasoned Canvas user. So I thought, well, maybe he knew to turn it on. Had already turned it on before I turned it on. So I just wanted to make sure that I didn't need to tell him.
No, that's a great question.
And there is one caveat to the Immersive Reader that I want to be clear with everybody, and it has to do with an assessment. So quizzes or classic quizzes or new quizzes, you're not going to see the Immersive Reader. And that has to get into that whole area of like read aloud, and does the student understand that content because it was read to them versus actually comprehension. So a lot of logistics around that, but just so you know that there are some places where you won't see that Immersive Reader. It's not on every single aspect.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's on pages, right? That's a really great point. And for example, let's talk about really quickly. We have 3 minutes, and I'm just going to throw this in here. Let's imagine that you are creating an assignment, and you know that you have students who need some support with. Wait, what am I doing? Yeah, cancel type of assignment. Let's just do demo. So I know that I have a student who needs some supports with maybe directions, right? So I just created an assignment. I come in here. I can type my directions here. Also, I can come in and I can record myself giving directions to my students, right? So you as the teacher, you know what sort of supports that your students need. I won't be able to do a webcam because I'm showing my face here, but if I weren't sharing my screen and on a recording, you would see my webcam as well. Or I can just simply, you can see I'm talking, I can just simply use my voice, right? So I can give verbal directions here. I click finish, I have the opportunity to listen to it, save the media. So now this audio recording or video recording will be here to support my students that may need those supports. So as Corey said, Immersive Reader is not available in assignments quizzes, but you can do that. You can make your own supports that way. Again, working with the exceptionalities and making sure that accessibility is there. Great question. Great comment. Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it. Anything else, you guys? Any questions? As we're going through, I do have the WCAG guidelines right here for you this course, right? So I have them that they open to the page. I also have, I have the PowerPoint that today, I have that here for you. Here we go. So the PowerPoint, and it does have some best practices that I think you can read through. I mean, we could talk about them for sure, but I see that we are at 8 o'clock, and to me, those had enough information on the slides that it's just easy for you just to kind of peruse. I do recommend highly, first thing tomorrow, print out that that course design checklist and just kind of take a look at it, right? With accessibility in mind. You know, if there's anything that you walk away with, understanding the accessibility checker is there for you, understanding that you can request that your Canvas admin, just like Randy, opens up Immersive Reader for your instance, and then also making sure that you just check your links, your link validator at the beginning of semesters. You know, start eating that elephant that one bite, right? And you pretty soon it's going to become second nature to you that you'll be moving way beyond probably anything that I even know at this point. I think that brings us to the time. I could stay here with you guys all night, but I know that you would not appreciate me as a person. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and just kind of wrap up with any questions, concerns, comments, anything I can support as you're heading out. Thanks, Corey, for adding those things. I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate your time. And, you know, I always end all of my PD sessions with thank you for doing what you're doing. You know, education is not easy, especially in these times. And we need each other. We need to be here for one another. And we truly couldn't do what we do unless we had this group of people and this hive mind to take care of us. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for all that you're doing. And I am truly grateful to have spent this hour with you today.
Agreed. Thank you. I would absolutely echo that. I put a link in the chat. That is where I'm kind of landing all of these. So the recordings, future webinars. We have one in March. We're talking about formative assessments, and one in April talking about mastery paths. I will also be at NCTIs at the beginning of the month, and I will be doing a workshop there with one of Lorianne's colleagues about Canvas for elementary. So if you have any interest in talking about that, come hang out with us that Thursday. But if there's anything that we can do for you guys, I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you for watching,